Thanks for staying with us. So food security is a current issue in Nigeria as it is across Africa, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO statistics, which indicated that in 2024, Nigeria is expected to see about 26.5 million people grappling with high levels of food insecurity. Furthermore, a report by Economic Commission of Africa shows the linkage between land tenure and food security in Africa. So joining us right now on the show to talk more about this, the Executive Officer of WaleAgro Nigeria Limited. Welcome very much, Mr. Yusuf Adewale. Welcome to the show, sir.
Nice to be here.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
So tell us, why are you so passionate about solving this food crisis, insecurity in Nigeria?
Well, it all started during my childhood, during the military era where there was economic hardship and there were high increase, in food prices. So my parents were working in a university environment and salary were not forthcoming. Things were on a very high side. Fortunately for us, the university gave them access to farmland. And then they were able to make use of that land to cultivate enough food. So during those seasons, we were just enjoying ourselves, There were food everywhere, and we were also selling some of this food as well, and then giving out to our neighbors. So that's actually, I started developing passion, agriculture. If this can solve, can settle us, can save us during this season, then it can save as many as possible whereby they can cultivate and then has enough food, be able to sell to people, get income from it, and then they will be fine at the end of the day. So I believe if people have access to farmland, have access to input machineries and then capital, then they will be able to scale the seasons of hardship and then food inflation in the country.
Well, people say that when we remove the problem of food, all the rest are easy to solve. So how strong are your belief that creating these farm estates can solve the issue of food insecurity in Nigeria?
Let's do a brief throwback on how we started as a country. During the 1950s and 1960s, during the Awolowo era, whereby young men and women were brought together, large expanse of land were given to them to cultivate, machineries, everything was made available, the infrastructure, everything was made available, and then they started cultivating, and then the data shows that Nigeria increased its food production during those eras, but since oil came, we've diverted our attention from agriculture.
And hunger the warriors.
So our production started coming down. During those times that people were engaged in agriculture, we can say the largest producer of cocoa is Nigeria, oil palm, groundnut. I can go on and on like that. But since we diverted our attention from agriculture, we started scaling back on production, and then here we are now. So if we can bring that, that same policy back, where we engage a lot of, young men, women, provide the infrastructure, everything, the land, the machineries, the inputs, make the road accessible, extension services, the knowledge aspect and everything. I believe it's just a matter of time, we are going to the top,
So I find it interesting, you're talking about the military era and the food insecurity at that time, but here we are 2024, we're dealing with levels of food insecurity as well. We took a paper a story in the paper talking about malnourished children. What do you think is the cause of this increasing food insecurity that we have in Nigeria? What can we do, to salvage the situation? Okay. And then, I got some data that says something about 9.4 million Nigerians are undernourished. That is not a small deal at all. And I was wondering if you could just shed some light on that.
The major problem we have right now is insecurity. Farmers are not able to access their farmland. Most of the farmlands are being destroyed by bandits and miscreants. So they were unable to produce more. So when there is no food available, then people will have issues of malnourishment. There won't be enough food accessible to the populace, and which is going to cause malnourishment. So if we're able to solve the issue of insecurity, then I believe everything will come back to normal. And how do we solve it? Government needs to collaborate with the local, community. There should be a local policing of the various farms, so that the farmers can have the confidence to go to the farm, and they will feel protected, and they will start cultivating the land. And before you know it, at least we have enough food available. And so if that is not solved, then we will have issues of food not being available to the populace. And then we also need to give knowledge. Knowledge is very important as far as agriculture is concerned, because you need practical knowledge. There are people that should be training the farmers on the best practices, what is needed to be done, how to do it, and then once they have that knowledge, they will be able to practicalize it on the farm, and things will come to
but the government has already built farm settlements, and the goal is to have educated young men and people generally encouraged into making a career out of agriculture. That already sounds like the government has done something remarkable. So I'd like to find out if you think the government is doing enough in the area of access to fund for the people that they have now put in the farm settlement to be able to create agricultural businesses from their initiative.
Yes, government is doing little it can, but they still need to do more. Now, the old farm settlements that are being established, government is now trying to revamp it, to bring in, technological, infrastructure, make it accessible to the farmer. But government needs to do more. There are some farm settlements that are yet to be revamped, which government is. If we do not revamp all those farm settlements, we'll still be having...
What do you mean by revamp?
Some of the farm settlements are in bad shape. The structures are dilapidating. So they need to rebuild them, make the road accessible, provide tractors, all the implement there, so that people can walk, farmers can walk, and then we'll see improvement in food.
Let's talk about your company. I mean, what's your company doing to support young people who are actually trying to get into farming? What are the challenges you've seen, and how have you been able to overcome them?
Well, what we are doing presently as an organization is to make sure that people have access to farmland, and then in a very secured environment, whereby they can do what they want to do. There are tractors, there is security. They can collaborate and synergize together among themselves, and then they have the access to buyers. That is also very important. You don't just produce without having an
market ready
that will take it up. So those are the things we are trying to, we are providing for people, so that agriculture can come back to where it was before. People can have enough food to consume. People can have money as well, by when they sell their produce, and then everybody will be okay. The nation can, prosper and grow.
Fantastic. So, I
wanted to talk about storage. Are you also providing? So there are certain farm products that if we store them, there will be no fluctuating prices. Perishable ones like tomatoes, where there's a season, off-season for certain kinds of it. And we don't, apart from, having markets readily available, we do not have storage. You see so much wastage. Are you also looking into that?
Yeah. Those are some of the things we are doing. You know, we have storage for yam. We have storage for, tomatoes. And then we also have, many warehouses on some of our farm estates for soybeans and all of that. So, because storage is very, very important. If you produce and then you're not able to store it, you are losing your money, the income. And then at the same time, people will not be able to have access to these things to consume. So storage is very, very important. So in some of our farm estates, we have storage facilities where we store, yam, tomatoes, soybeans, and some of these things. It's one step at a time. I believe as time goes on, we'll be able to have storage facilities for some of these staple crops, so that we'll reduce the spoilage and then we're able to increase it.
We need to wrap up with you. Is there any final message you want to give your Nigerians listening to you this morning?
What I will say is this is the time every Nigerian must go back to agriculture. Last month, I was passing through my 12, and I was like, let me just see the prices of what is going on. Yeah, and then I drove into the market, and then I asked for yam. Could you imagine that a yam of tuber was 5,000 naira?
You can't imagine. It's a reality.
5,000, I was like, wow, in this country, how do we get to this point? About 79 million hectares of agricultural land, and we are selling a tuber of yam 5,000. Dear Nigerians, it is time to go back to agriculture. We need to eat what we produce and then produce what we eat.
Yeah. Thank you. Well said.
Thank you very much. Well said.
I like your outfit too.
Let us go on a short break now. When we come back, we move on to our next segment, our hot topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.